I love what Super 7's doing, but it's like based on cartoons and it's based on comic books. It's based on IP that's already pre-existing, right? I wanted us to create an all new IP, all new ideas.
Hey guys, I'm vlogging from my phone, something I never do, but I'm giving you the introduction to this video like this because it's 4th of July weekend and I've been at the pool all day, but I got to get this intro done because I have to get this video up for you guys tomorrow morning, and I've got to start planning for tomorrow's shoot because I'm not going to be at Toy Federation. I'm actually going to be at Southeast Game Exchange doing video game stuff and filming with Retro Rick a little bit, as well as Gamers Alley and a little bit of Toy Federation because they have a booth set up there. But I'm entering the world of video games, which I don't know a lot about, and I've been learning about this week from filming with Retro Rick. He's been giving me like a crash course in what's popular in video games. But today's video is not about video games. It's about G.I. Joes, toys, which you're all here for. G.I. Joes I don't know a lot about, but I know that today we filmed, or not today, but today's video includes an artist from the G.I. Joe line that drew some of my favorite G.I. Joes, like Alley Viper, some of those great 90s G.I. Joes. So this company, which is called Operation Recall, is making O-ring figures, and they're doing it a little differently, but they've got, it feels like they, he says they got the band back together. They got some of the artists from the G.I. Joe line to create these new characters for Operation Recall. So we're going to cut to that right now, and you're going to see less of me, and they're going to start talking about Operation Recall and this new line that's based on G.I. Joes.
What's up, Toy Addicts? This is Carson from 3D Joes. I was going to show you really quickly The Art of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. It's a fully licensed 712-page book that features every single painting from 1982 to 1994. We start with kids opening their presents, though, because this is why this art matters, this shared experience that we all had decades ago that still ties us together through the love of toys. So quickly, I'll flip through. You get every figure, every vehicle, every playset, every peripheral item, anything that had unique painted artwork on it, whether by Hasbro or third-party companies, it's all in this book. When you keep flipping, you'll come to these double gatefold spreads. When you see arrows like that, you just open up and enjoy. So one of my favorite parts about this book is it incorporates the creators that made this line. So if you see the TV over there, I filmed 50 hours worth of interviews with these guys. I transcribed it and worked all their stories into this book. I've since hitting print on the book for the last 6 months. I've condensed those 50 hours down to 9 hours of interviews, and those are all going on 4 Blu-ray discs. It's called a Digipack. So if you Google The Art of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Omnibus hardcover, that's what this is, and Digipack is the Blu-ray discs. So these creators, I've had relationships with Ron Rudat, Mark Pennington for over a decade now. I've been building 3D Joes and archiving all the toys first. Once I got done with the toys, I thought it was very important to document the creators that made this stuff. So this is just a taste of Ron Rudat's creative process for designing the figures. He designed the first 120 figures, everything from loose designs to head sculpts to sculpture sheets to presentation artwork that would be used to sell through to management, more presentation art, more sculpt sheets, and he even found time to do vehicles. This is the original line art for the Moray that's hanging on the hall of in the hallway, going to a staircase like no big deal. He did the Sky Striker logo, the Night Raven logo, all the tampos that went on the figures for their unit patches. He's an amazing graphic designer. He's even got the Cobra logo hanging on his wall in the same hallway going to the staircase. Like it's no big deal. It's just something he did back in 1981. He's a genius of a creator. Mark Pennington is actually here with us today. He followed Ron on the line and he did all the figure designs from 1986 to 1989. So if you like Storm Shadow version 2, Snake Eyes version 3, Hit and Run, Alley Viper, tons of heavy hitters, all designed by Mark Pennington. So we were going to do one chapter in this book called The Art of Action Figure Design. And what we were going to do was design from scratch a brand new action figure. So we went through all the steps that they went through back in the day. This was my original pitch to Hasbro when I was 10 years old in 1989. I got a very nice rejection letter. They didn't take my idea, but at least they were nice enough to send it back to me. So 30 years later, I could go to Ron Rudat and say, hey, do you want to help me make that figure I wanted for 30 years? And he said yes, which is amazing. So we did loose illustrations, right? This is called ideation, character sketches, and a bunch of character sketches for the accessories as well. My character came with a carrier pigeon. The British were using carrier pigeons to communicate with the French resistance when the Nazis were occupying the country, for example. So carrier pigeons have been used in military forever. I got together with Kirk Bazigian, and he was the brand manager back in the day, and we reviewed and marked up everything. We decided which elements we wanted to keep and which elements we wanted to ditch. And this is where we decided, okay, let's do a carrier pigeon, but let's also do this drone idea. So then I just kind of typed up the notes, sent them back to Ron. And then Ron went into revised line art, right? So this is the revised Rotello design. Once we got that locked, then we move into color studies, which is where you're just trying a bunch of different colors. This is the final color study that we arrived at. Once you're done with the color studies, you create what's called presentation art. We put it out on Kickstarter and raised $415,000. It's currently on backer kit. We've got another $133,000 in commitments. So it's going well with funding. We're able to make the figures. We pitched, if you guys can fund everything, we'll do a full year's worth of figures, comparable to what a Hasbro G.I. Joe line of figures would have been back in the day. So we're rolling out 19 figures right now. We brought in Mark Pennington, who followed up Ron Rudat from 86 to 89. Ron and Mark are splitting the load, so they've designed half the figures. These are hand sculpted by Bill Merkline and Mike Good. So Bill Merkline and Mike Good were contract sculptors. They didn't work in-house at Hasbro. I hate to say this, but the best figure sculptors were not in Hasbro. They were contractors. Now, all the accessories were sculpted in-house at Hasbro. So these are hand-sculpted figures, and then these are resin copies of those hand-sculpted figures, and then these are paint masters. This is the first time you see them as people, as characters, you know, as fully polished products. So it's really been about putting the old band back together to create a new album, creating figures the way that they used to create the figures, documenting that process along the way for posterity, and bringing fun back to toys, man, because all the toy lines that I'm seeing are very iterative of what's already come before. If it's, you know, I love what Super 7's doing, but it's like based on cartoons and it's based on comic books. It's based on IP that's already pre-existing, right? I wanted us to create an all new IP, all new ideas. If you're interested, go to operationrecall.com, click on the backer kit link, and go in there and pick out how many of the figures you want. We're not going to close the backer kit until we've got paint masters for everybody. So I want everybody to see every figure painted up like this, because this is the closest approximation of what it's going to look like to the actual toy. And I should note, these are going to be 3 3/4 inch figures, right? This is the way they made them back in the day. It's called a 2-up. So just like in comic books when they draw it 11 by 17 and then they shrink it down to comic book size, that's just so they can get more detail in the artwork. The same thing happens with the sculptures. You sculpt them at twice the scale, you shrink them down, and you get more detail into the art of the sculpture. So when we're done with these will be 3 3. We're doing a little variance because Mark Pennington, Ron Rudat, Bill Merkline, they all requested it. They wanted to have, for example, this is our Japanese lady who runs the robotic dog. Her name is Runback, and this is Pack Dog. And Pack Dog is modular, where he's got little pegs on top, and you can see the crate accessory that we have on there right now. But we think you're going to be able to take that crate off and put Gatling guns or, you know, sea rations or medical supplies or whatever you want on this little robot dog. And we're actually going to put a template for that robot dog out into the 3D printing community so that everybody can create whatever ideas they want to modularly build out the Pack Dog. So that's a really cool idea. But the point about Runback is that she's going to be 3.5 inches tall, which is appropriate for a Japanese woman. And then you're going to have somebody like this guy, Bear Claw, just a big burly dude that lives out in the woods and befriended a raccoon because our toy line is fun, and he's going to be 4 inches tall. So, and we also have some variance in the shoulder widths. So there's a standard height, and most of the figures are just standard, right? 12 of the 19 figures are standard, but we're going to have some variance that goes smaller, some variance that goes taller, and some variance that goes wider. So that's what we're working on, man. Come back Joe Fest 2025, and hopefully we'll have some boxed product ready to sell to you. All right? Yo, Joe. Visit operationrecall.com, back the backer kit. Thank you.